build a stronger Edmonton, one that is going to be more affordable, more safe, and actually does keep up with the growth that we're seeing in the city. And so I feel I have the best skills to offer.
One of the very visible problem is the property tax. People are fed up. People saw a huge spike in the property tax here in Edmonton City.
We're not keeping up with our growth, let alone even inflation. This 4-year period, we've seen much larger increases. So we've gone from one end of the pendulum to the other. And so my plan says we can't have any more surprises. It shouldn't be either extreme. We still need to invest in our city.
If you get selected as a mayor of Edmonton City, so what would be your priorities in the first year, like in the 365 days?
3 major issues I'm hearing about from Edmontonians. So I want to make Edmonton a more affordable city, a safer city, and one that is still keeping up with our rapid population growth. These are the issues I'm hearing about from Edmontonians day after day, everywhere across the city. The same things are coming up. So I want those to be the areas of focus. And I want to make sure we're working with Edmontonians to tackle these issues.
ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਟੀਵੀ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ। ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿਟੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਅਕਤੂਬਰ 20 ਨੂੰ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ, ਪਰ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਪੋਲਿੰਗ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ 7 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ 11 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਤੱਕ ਜਾਰੀ ਰਹੇਗੀ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹਾਂ ਐਂਡਰੂ ਨੈਕ, ਮੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹਨ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਤੋਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕੁਝ ਸਵਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਡੋਰ ਨੌਕਿੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। Welcome, Andrew, to primeasiatv TV.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for visiting our campaign office.
Thank you very much taking time out of your busy schedule today to talk to us. Okay, Andrew, tell me about you are 2 times a councillor in this city. Why you choose to contest as a mayor this time?
So there's a lot that went into that decision. I've been serving on city council now for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
And when I made a decision about a year ago that I wasn't going to seek re-election as a city councillor, and you think about all of the things that have changed in that time since September of last year, from the US election to the Canadian federal election, provincially we've seen conversations about things like separation, which I'm not supportive of.
So many issues.
Right. On top of that, locally, we saw our mayor make a decision. He wasn't going to run again. We've also seen the introduction of local political parties, which I'm strongly opposed to. And it's sort of a combination of these factors caused me to start reaching out to Edmontonians to figure out how I can best help. What are some of the biggest issues people want us to be working on? And what I heard through a lot of those conversations earlier this year is that people are worried about affordability, they're worried about our rapid population growth, they're concerned about their safety. And as somebody that's been around for 12 years and has the experience of actually delivering on each of those 3 areas, I felt that this was the right time to put my name forward to build a stronger Edmonton, one that is going to be more affordable, more safe, and actually does keep up with the growth that we're seeing in the city. And so I feel I have the best skills to offer as somebody that's been able to work with people for that time.
That makes sense actually. But what are the factors? What are the few things you feel actually contributing to these kind of problems here in the city? One of the very visible problem is the property taxes.
Yes.
People are fed up. From the last 20-25 years, people saw a huge spike in the property tax here in Edmonton City. Even if you compare it with the Calgary city, it's way higher here in Edmonton, and people are crying. When we talk to people, when people reach us, and they used to talk like, what kind of facilities we are getting in response, like in return, when we are paying that much higher property taxes in the city.
Yes, so it's an issue and something I have a detailed plan of how we build a financially sustainable city, because what we've seen over the previous 2 4-year budgets, so if you go back to from 2019 to 2022, we actually had the lowest increases in more than 25 years. We were averaging only a 1.3% property tax increase from 2019 to 2022. Now, we kept them really low because we were in the middle of COVID and there was very uncertain economic times. But that's a great example of where we're not keeping up with our growth, let alone even inflation. And so this 4-year period, we've seen much larger increases. So we've gone from one end of the pendulum to the other. And so my plan says we can't have any more surprises. It shouldn't be either extreme. We still need to invest in our city. We've added 200,000 Edmontonians in the last 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most
so
of
many
that
people
growth,
actually
right?
came to Edmonton from all over the Canada and from all over the world. Actually.
That's right. And so we need to make sure as a city that we're still investing in the new communities that need roadway infrastructure and fire halls and libraries. And then in the older neighborhoods, we need to invest in renewal of our existing infrastructure. So since I do want to keep investing in the city, this is how I want to address the budget itself, which is to say, we need to set a new foundation. So I made a motion back in December to completely restructure how the City of Edmonton budgets. So starting in January, the next council will be going through every single one of the 73 business areas to get a sense of what they're spending, if we're getting value from that money, what the results are, how we might want to change their budget if there needs to be changes, or are there areas that we're in the business of that maybe we shouldn't be anymore, to allow us to reprioritize. And I feel very confident about this process because I'm the only person running in this election that's been a current or former member of council that's actually reduced the budget. So I've made motions over my time on council and have cut $80 million from the budget to help find efficiencies to be able to redirect to other priorities. That's the type of leadership I plan to take if given the chance to serve as Edmonton's next mayor for our next 4-year budget cycle.
That's perfect. And what do you feel about the mobility issues here in Edmonton City? Like the bike lanes, that's the huge kind of subject. Like people are talking about, we don't need that kind of. And City of Edmonton has invested so much, and they wasted money. And second is the buses. Like during the last tenure, they purchased it, but they are not in service now. So do you feel that's the wastage of money and we didn't prioritize according to our needs in the city?
Yeah, I think the electric buses is a great example of where, even though almost all of those buses were purchased using provincial and federal money, just because you're getting essentially free money from the other orders of government doesn't mean you should always take it. Right? The original plan was to test out a few of them before making a bigger purchase, but the other two orders of government came in and gave all this money to purchase those buses. So we need to make sure that when we're testing out new technology, like we're doing with hydrogen buses now,
absolutely,
we bought 2.
Yeah.
We partnered with Strathcona County.
It's a pilot project, actually.
Pilot project, testing it out, and then if it works, then you do a larger purchase. But I think the bigger question about mobility is, are we making sure we're providing choice to people? Because 25% of our city doesn't drive. And so we need to continue to invest in our roads. In my time on council, we've invested $4.2 billion into our roadway network. This last 4-year budget is the most per year investment in our roads that we've ever made. But at the same time, we also are investing in other modes of transportation. In active transportation, most of that investment that you talked about was actually in multi-use trails. And that's great for new neighborhoods. I was out door knocking in Maple just actually 2 days ago from when we were doing this interview. And I saw a number of seniors out biking on the multi-use trails to get to the park so they could go sit on the bench, chat with each other. Really great to see. And so we need to invest in alternatives. We need to make sure those options exist. We need to make sure our bus system's getting expanded because the bus system usage is at an all-time high in Edmonton right now. And we need more buses in our fleet because we're actually coming up against the capacity of our bus garages. So when we're building out a city of now almost 1.25 million people, you need to invest in your roadway network, but you also need to invest in transit, active transportation, sidewalks. All of that infrastructure really matters when you have a city growing as rapidly as we are.
So that's the only source of income is from the property tax. So do you have any other option?
So municipalities are very limited in how they collect revenue. It's property taxes and it's user fees are pretty much the main two. And then you get some grants from the other orders of government. It's why we've been so vocal about things like making sure the provincial government is paying their property taxes, because they weren't for many years. They were only paying half the bill, which means that all of us have to make up the difference for the provincial government. We've seen infrastructure funding drop dramatically provincially. It's been cut by about 60% since 2011. That means that it's harder to invest in the roadway network that we need, in the buses that we need, in all of that critical infrastructure. So for us, we only really have the two mechanisms. It's property taxes and it's user fees, and then
Yeah.
working to get other orders of government, which is why, as mayor, I want to make sure we're getting our fair share, working with other municipalities to make sure we're all getting our fair share to invest in the city so that we're not having to rely on property taxes as the only way to fund the services that people
And how
expect.
you see the role of provincial government here? Like what I see, UCP government is not supporting the Edmonton city after these provincial elections because they didn't get any seat from the Edmonton city. All the seats went to the NDP party only. And is that, due to that, Edmonton city is suffering a lot. They are not getting their fair share from the provincial money.
It's Edmonton, but it's actually province-wide right now. So municipalities aren't getting their fair share anymore. So I go back to the infrastructure funding comment. All municipalities have had their infrastructure funding cut by 60% since 2011. All of the municipalities across this province weren't getting the full property taxes from the provincial government. And so this is less about the provincial government picking on Edmonton over any other municipality. It's actually something that's broader for municipalities across this province. And that is why it's important that as mayor, we work to be collaborative. Our goal should always be, and this is the way I've approached it for 12 years as a city councillor, I'll go work with whoever. I don't care what side of the political spectrum somebody's on. If you're conservative, if you're NDP, if you're liberal, I'm going to go work with you. I'm going to try to find common ground. But if we are unable to have our needs met because we are not being heard, then it is important as mayor to stand up and speak up about that and to call out that unfair treatment. And because if we're not doing that, then we're not going to see change. But we always start with the idea to try to be collaborative first, but not being afraid to stand up. And that's how I've approached this. It's why, something like the introduction of political parties, I've been very vocal against. I spoke, I tried to have those meetings one-on-one first. When they started forcing through with it, then I started speaking up and making sure Edmontonians know that this is a system that was forced on us by Premier Smith and the provincial government, and Edmontonians, over 70% of Edmontonians didn't want it. And so that's why I was very vocal about it. So don't be afraid to be vocal, but let's work together where we can.
No, that's perfect. And how you feel about the federal government's role here? Like federal government provided so much funding during the last 10 years we talk about, and we developed the Millwoods LRDs, and now the LRDs expanding to the south side and the west side, and they are investing huge to develop the Edmonton city infrastructure. How you feel about the federal government spending and their interest into the Edmonton city?
Yeah, it's been really encouraging to see the level of investment from the federal government over the last decade. As you've mentioned, they provided quite a bit of funding for a lot of critical projects. And I think we need to continue to work on that relationship. In fact, just a few weeks ago, the Premier had announced, or the Prime Minister had announced about $10 billion in funding for more housing. And they were starting in only 6 municipalities in the country. One of the 6 right here in Edmonton, because we're doing a great job of seeing housing getting built. We have a really good relationship. So it's encouraging to see that level of investment. We need to see it continue, because there are, again, this city is growing rapidly and there are a lot of needs, and most of the major infrastructure projects don't get built exclusively using property tax dollars through the city. They get paid for using provincial and federal funding. So good to have a willing partner right now. And to the provincial government's credit, about 10 years ago, they did invest in the West LRT, right? So things like that, there are ways to find that common ground. I worked with the provincial government at the time, 10 years ago, to get the funding for the Valley Line West LRT. We need to continue to work with both the federal government and the provincial government, because we all share the same goal of serving the people. We just need to make sure we're all moving in the same direction.
Absolutely. So if you get selected as a mayor of Edmonton City, so what would be your priorities in the first year, like in the 365 days, the first 365 days?
Really, it comes back to those 3 major issues I'm hearing about from Edmontonians. So I want to make Edmonton a more affordable city, a safer city, and one that is still keeping up with our rapid population growth. These are the issues I'm hearing about from Edmontonians day after day after day. I'm out door knocking all the time. I'm doing, phone calls and group meetings. everywhere across the city, the same things are coming up. So I want those to be the areas of focus. And I want to make sure we're working with Edmontonians to tackle these issues because building a safer community, it's responding to things like housing and homelessness. It's responding to some of the things like we've heard, in Southeast Edmonton around some of the hate crimes and the extortion that's happening. How are we tackling these issues and truly making our city safer? How are we working together to invest in the city while managing the costs on the day-to-day costs that people are facing? Those are going to be the top three issues.
So do you have any roadmap for that? Like
Oh, yes.
The blueprint, how you will tackle these top priorities,
Absolutely.
issues?
So I have released detailed plans for each of those areas of how we build a financially sustainable city, how we build a more affordable city, how we address safety. So on my website, we've actually gone through and created a very detailed, itemized list of the actions that need to be taken, because it's one thing to say, I want to make our city safer and more affordable. It's something else entirely to say, here's exactly how I'm going to do it. And that's something that, having had the experience of being on council and knowing how it works, I know exactly the steps we need to take to address those issues, because that's what I've been working on as a city councillor. I'm the one that's been able to find budget savings, so I know how to address our affordability challenges. I'm the one that's been working to get investment in new infrastructure in growing communities and renewing infrastructure in older communities, so I know how to keep up with growth. That's what's going to be important, but we have very detailed plans that people can go through. We wouldn't have enough time to go through every single step, but I mean, because I wanted to put a lot of detail so people know that's how this will work here.
And how you see the competition? Mr. Tim Cartmel is very close, like as per the survey reports. I believe that would be a neck-to-neck competition.
Yes.
And people are actually out for the vote during the advanced polls, and that will go till October 11th.
Yes.
And after that, the final day is October 20th. How you see the competition?
Yes, yeah, I think you're hearing what I think everyone else is hearing right now, is it does seem to be a two-person race between myself and Mr. Cartmel. And listen, I've worked with Tim for 8 years. He's a very nice person. I enjoyed working with him. I think there's a few things that really separate us, though, right? When we talk about this vision of what we stand for in our city, we've heard suggestions like we're not from Mr. Cartmel that we won't do any new construction. So what does that mean for all of the areas that are at the edges of our city, that are waiting for roadway widenings, that are waiting for fire halls, that are waiting for something as small as a bench in a park, right? If we're not going to build anything new over the next 4 years, then there will be no investment in those new communities that are rapidly growing. If we're not going to build anything new in our older communities, that might mean certain buildings just have to come down because they're at the age where they need to be completely removed. So for me, this is why I've talked about responsible budgeting, but continuing to invest in our city. It's really important that we keep investing in our city. People do expect those services and amenity. We have a great quality of life here. I don't want to see us fall back. And like even something as simple as a safer city. If we're short 4 fire halls, which we are, we need to build those to ensure we're a safer city. I think the other big issue, though, really comes down to something we talked about right at the start, which is that I am not running as part of a political party. I'm running as an independent. And that I feel so passionate about, because at the end of the day, we heard this when the provincial government and Premier Smith forced political parties into the cities of Edmonton and Calgary. They did this even though more than 70% of Edmontonians said they didn't want political parties. And so I did not want to have to play that game. I wanted to continue to do what I've done as a councillor for the last 12 years, which is work together with people, no matter where you are on the political spectrum. Because we know, and we see this in the partisan system provincially, we see it federally, we see it in the US, that the party system is designed so that anybody elected as part of a party puts the party loyalty above everything else, including the people that we serve. And so that is going to be the biggest differentiator, because I'm here to serve all Edmontonians. I'm here to represent all Edmontonians. When you're part of a party, the party is the one calling the shots. There isn't that independence to actually reflect the values of the people that we serve. And so as much as I appreciate, having worked with them for the last 8 years, I think that's going to be one of the biggest differences, is people didn't want this. And there was still a choice to go ahead with that. I chose to lead by example and say, no, I'm not going to be a part of that system, because Edmontonians don't want that system in their local government.
So actually, that's very wonderful to know about how you will definitely tackle all these issues if you get elected to the city council in 2025.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for your time, and we are hopeful you'll get elected and will represent Edmontonians in the city hall in 2025. Thank
I
you very
really
much for your
appreciate
time.
it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And yes, please, everyone, get out to vote. It's going to be an important election.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
ਇਹ ਸਨ ਐਂਡਰੂ ਨੈਕ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹਨ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਤੋਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਐਂਡ ਬੇਬਾਕੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਅਤੇ ਆਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜਵਾਬ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਏ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਅਤੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲੋ, ਆਪਣੇ ਵੋਟ ਦੇ ਹੱਕ ਦਾ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਹੱਕ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮਝੋ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਹੋ, ਐਡਮਿੰਟਨ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸਪੈਰਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਨਦੀਪ ਗੁਜਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਦਿਓ। ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ TV, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।